Hi there. How are you feeling right now? So the election has happened in the United States, and still waiting for results to find out who actually won the presidential election. And I don't know. I find myself frustrated at this moment, actually. And I have been, in a certain way, anticipating this time after the election and the time going forward. And the place where I draw inspiration right now is the idea that, most people kind of agree right now that this isn't good. We're not liking this system very much. And I don't know. I personally am just like, well, this is so silly that we're just like waiting for. I mean, it's not just the waiting, but it's this electoral college piece, and they were like putting all of this weight, like all of our hope of like the future of this country on like one or the other person. And we also know that, wow, at least half of the people who voted are going to be unhappy with this decision, and that's not the best. And so the place where I draw inspiration is that maybe people are actually ready to change. And that's exciting for me, and for people who are in my field of conflict transformation, because we have amazing tools to help all of us, to help you make the changes that we need to make in this system. I guarantee you, there are a lot better ways for us to be making important decisions about the things that are going on in this world. So I'm going to use this in the next couple videos to sort of talk about just like some basic high-level concepts that can sort of explain sort of like what's going on and how we can do it better. So, gosh, wouldn't it be great if we could do it better? Yeah. So anyways, with a hat tip to Kenneth Cloke, one of my friends and teachers, I want to first talk about like what are the elements of political and social conflict. And in the next two videos, I'm going to break down sort of like 3 rules for understanding and processing conflict. You can find all of these at the Transformation Time series on my YouTube channel. So what's going on in political conflict? Okay, so first of all, the things we're talking about: healthcare, race, foreign policy, China, coronavirus. These are extremely important issues. We all care about them. Everyone cares a lot about these issues, the economy. These are important stuff. And we know that the kind of decisions that we're making will have lasting impacts, not only for us and like our lives, but they actually are going to impact like our children, our grandchildren. So this is serious stuff. And that's just, I think, the first thing to remember is that everyone really cares. Like, think about it for you. Like, how much do you think about how any of these decisions impact your life? How does it feel for you to think about maybe making the wrong decision that can impact, future generations? None of us want to make the wrong decision. I don't want to make the wrong decision. So let's look to see what we need to do if we want to have, like, what are the ingredients of a political and social conflict? So basically, you have 3 ingredients. First of all, you need there to be diversity. There has to be people with different perspectives, different ideas, different lived experiences, all the kinds of diversity. That's one thing that's going to bring you some conflict. The second thing you need for conflict is inequality. There has to be a range of power and ability to make influence and change things. And the third thing you need is a win-lose process, right? So we vote for this guy, someone wins, someone loses. This party wins, this party loses. This policy passes, this policy doesn't pass. So a win-lose process. So if you have those 3 things, then you got yourself some nice political social conflict. And not the good kind. So, so what do you do? Okay, well, you can try to address this in 3 different ways. So first of all, you can try to have there be less diversity, right? If everyone agrees, then you don't have a conflict. it's great, but not really, because we actually are diverse, especially when we're talking about our country. We got 350 something million people in this country, and they all have different experiences. And that's actually like a core thing about our country. So we have a lot of different ideas about what to do and how to do things. So, so clearly we need to be able to include that diversity in our political decision making. Now, just in case you're sitting there thinking, well, less diversity, I wouldn't ever want to do that. I know that I'm not that kind of person. Think about how often you maybe just have political social conversations with people who you agree with. We do that a lot. You should check out my sameness and difference video if you want to dig more into that. Well, yeah, people do that. That's what this whole siloing is. I don't want to hear people who disagree with me. So that is lessening diversity as a way of getting rid of conflict. But it doesn't quite help, and I'll get into that into the next video, and that one will be coming out tomorrow. So another thing we can do is you try to increase equality. Now, that is a noble effort. And let's just say that if you look across the arc of our country, we've been doing a great job with this. We literally just keep on bringing more and more equality as we go along. Now, we're not there yet. And it's worth remembering that we didn't really even have the right to vote affirmed in this country until 1970 for people of all races and stuff like that. That's a big deal. So it's relatively new, but we're getting better at it. Now, equality is awesome, and there's lots of ways that we can sort of bring more equality into our system by lifting up the power, bringing more people in, making sure that the lines to power are accessible and equitable, and that's great. But then it's worth remembering that we're not actually going to get to full equality. First of all, there's it's just way more efficient for us to have someone who makes a final decision, who's actually in charge of implementing something. And plus, we're all good at different things. I'm good at different things than you. I'm better than you at certain things. You're better than me at certain things. Think about the ways that you know that you're the best at something. Currently, I make the best popsicles, I think. So, anyways. So, equality. We can increase equality. That's great, but we're not going to get all the way there. And plus, it's worth also pointing out that politics is basically just the process of questioning how do we manage power, who do we give power to, how do we delegate power. That's basically what politics is. And so we're always going to be asking that question. So we can do that, but that's not going to get us to the final solution. So the last thing we can do is we can change the process. Now, right now, we have a win-lose process. Now, that I'll just say is an inadequate way of doing things. This idea that someone's going to win or someone's going to lose, it's not people just go away afterwards. Someone whoever wins in this election right now, it's not really going to make that much of a difference because still all those other people are still here. It's not like when we play a game and then we go home and at the end of the game, we're then it's over. But in this case, it's not over. And also, it doesn't mean that we've won forever, right? This is a constant, ongoing thing. So what we can do, another way we can fix political and social conflicts is we can switch from win-lose situations to win-win situations. Doesn't that sound nice? So that's where we come in. Those of us in this field of conflict transformation, we have a lot of really great tools for win-win solutions. There's I can't even tell you. There's so many great ways to do it. Anytime you can get a group of people and we can bring them together and we can get them moving towards consensus, and whether it's 2 people, 10 people, 100 people, on and on. Now, it gets a little more challenging when we have to get to 350 million people. But that's fine. We can actually break it down into smaller parts. Conflict is a fractal. So all those little pieces are all self-similar, and we can actually bring this decision-making to local people so that people could actually be making the decisions about what's important in their lives, and we can do it in a way that everyone's needs get met. So how do we do that? Now, there's literally, as I said, a ton of different tools for doing this. But I'm just going to point out a couple of them with some resources. You can check out the links. if you want to learn more about this, you're welcome to reach out. I'm happy to talk to you about this. Literally, it's my favorite thing to talk about in the world. So, one of the things that's really amazing, this great tool that's being used in different parts of the world, is this idea of citizen councils. The idea is that you get a group of people, kind of like a jury. You kind of like randomly select a group of people. You bring them together and you take them through a deliberative, facilitated process. And you say, like, here's an issue. What do you think about this issue? And everyone goes in with a bunch of different opinions, and then they all learn together, and over a series of maybe weekends or period of time, they gather information, they get more information, they talk, they figure it out, and in the end, they come up with a proposal of like, hey, here's what we should do. Now, can you imagine if we did something like that? Instead of like trying to just like pick someone who's going to go make a decision for, the state of Colorado or California or something, like what if we actually had a representative group of California get together and make that decision together? And maybe they could just make that decision and just an informed politicians. Here's something that we can all agree on. Imagine what it would be like to get people all around the political spectrum, real people doing this. Now, there's like a couple caveats here. There's like some really cool ways that this can happen. It does require like actually a facilitator to actually help make sure that conversation goes well. There are online digital tools. I can think of Polis, Eletheo, Consider It. And then there's this really cool organization right now called Of, By, For, and they have a whole plan on how we can do this. And they're working right now on creating like a kind of like a Congress like made up of just people. So you should check them out. I'm going to put the links over here. And then also, there's a really great book called Reboot Democracy by Manuel Arriaga. That's a really great one. It really explains like all the different ways that we can do democracy better. I also recommend you check out Tom Atlee, and he has put together a pattern language about wise democracy and like what are the elements of like a wise democracy that kind of works for all of us. He's been thinking about this forever, and it's some really great wisdom. Again, find the link in the show notes, in this little video notes. And then, hey, do you want to learn more about this? I got you. I'm part of a team called the DPACE Initiative. And DPACE stands for Democracy, Politics, and Conflict Engagement. And we are, honestly, like, this is like one of the raddest teams of people. We have like over 100 something folk that are amazingly skilled conflict engagement practitioners. And our goal is to bring conflict literacy skills and conflict engagement capacity, or even just facilitation or mediation or dialogue, circle process, whatever you need, we got you. And you can find more about that at dpaceinitiative.org. That's DPACE initiative.org. And and also there you can find our conflict literacy framework. And there we like actually break down like, what are all these different tools? What are the sources of conflict? Why does conflict happen? How do we deal with conflict on social media? There's like 15 different modules. It's really great. And then you can also find me. I'm Duncan Autrey, duncanautrey.com. You can always contact me. I would love to talk to you about this if you have any more questions. But let me just say again, like, getting rid of diversity, not the right choice. More equality, good idea, never going to be perfect. Changing the process, we can do that. And if you're tired of the silly election process like I am, let's get in there and change this. Like, we totally get a chance to change it. And honestly, we really can find solutions and start building a world together that works for all of us. And huge props to the people who made this Constitution and all the work that it took to do this. It's doing great. I mean, it's like a relatively good conflict resolution system. They were not anticipating what has happened with like media, and I don't think they ever could have imagined also just like how much we would have grown, like the spectrum of political things. It's not perfect, but we can definitely improve it and make it a little bit better, and that's going to be up to you and to me. And if you have any questions about this, thoughts about it, please add some comments here. I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. I'd love to see who's watching these videos. Thank you for watching. and have a great day. And don't worry, y'all, we got this.